All right, honey. I'll talk to you in a little bit. Love you. Bye.
What's your name and where are you from?
What's my name? Where am I from? My name is Sarah, and I'm from St. Pete, Florida.
So what do you do?
I have a plant, herb, and crystal business. Basically, I sell all of my favorite things.
The other day, we were painting the house, so I had to scrape a lot of the vegetation away from the plants. And what I did was I actually just took the pots that I had in the back and I started planting them. I usually struggle with plants in pots, so I figured why not pick the ones that are abundant all around.
Easy weeds.
Easy weeds. The super species is what I've heard them called. And I have a feeling you may know what a lot of this is. So you pronounce your name Sara Ganster. Ganster, okay.
Yeah, like gangster but one G.
And one of my favorite things about Sara is she has so much awesome knowledge about local plants and medicinal plants and the natives. So I'm super excited to have her out at the farm to do a little hike, to do a little walk, and for her to share some of her knowledge on the plants on the property. I thought one of the coolest ways to start is on these plants that I just pulled out to see if you can recognize them at all.
Yes.
All right, so this one, you can see like obviously some of them worked and some of them didn't. But
yeah.
What are these?
So this looks like, this is a Biden's, type of Biden. So we were talking about in the yard, you've got Bidens, there's different species, but pretty much all the Bidens are edible, and they are like something you can use in like a pesto, you could throw them in a soup, but...
So I could use that as a herb?
Yeah, you can use it like as a pot herb, right? So kind of anything you're gonna cook in a pot or a pan, you could use some of that. Right, and the other cool thing is this one you can crush up and stick on like a mosquito bite or a bug bite. It'll take that redness and swelling down right away. This one is actually something that they really recommend if you do get sick with COVID or other respiratory infections. This is one that can really help boost your immune system and boost your immune function.
Just by putting it in your sautés?
Yeah, actually for that property you want to eat it raw. So either chop it up or blend it up or just make like a tea, you know, or just kind of like make a pesto and eat a bunch of it. That's a really easy way to do it because you can mix it in with basil and all the other herbs that taste really good. Because it doesn't taste bad, but it just doesn't really have a lot of flavor. It's just kind of grassy, you know?
Well, that's really cool. Just a random plant that I pulled in. I did not know it had that many uses.
Yeah.
What about this one right here?
So this is actually, I'm pretty sure this is pennyroyal. So.
I'm not sure if it's doing too good.
But it smells so good. So pennyroyal, sometimes it's called false rosemary, but it's like a Florida kind of rosemary also is what it gets called. And it's more spiritual. It's definitely a really cool plant. I can't remember a lot of the properties about it, but this one like always finds me on hikes, always.
What about this one right here?
This is cudweed. So what's kind of cool is you can tell that it's March because all the cudweed is blooming and popping up. So every year, cudweed is just a local weed to Florida. It shows up all over. I don't remember uses. I'll have to look. I feel like this one might be edible, but I have not eaten it. I would definitely say look that one up. Don't trust me on that one.
Yeah, that one isn't really going.
It's a syngonium. Honestly, it's fine. It dropped its leaves, but it's healthy. It'll grow.
And what about these two right here?
More cudweed. And then this is some kind of Sansevieria. So these are kind of in that mother-in-law tongue family. These are pretty aggressive, so I would not put these in the ground. Pulling them out and putting them in pots is great.
Yeah, I found these to be great plants to put in pots and in the house because I have a hard time keeping plants alive in the house just because I don't really take care of them that well.
Yeah.
And this plant will pretty much always stay alive.
This plant tolerates pretty much any condition from like extreme drought to extreme rain to extreme dark to extreme light. So you can kind of stick it anywhere and it's happy.
Do you know what any of these are?
This is peppergrass. So this one's looking a little sad. I don't know if she'll make it, but what's pretty cool is like say you're making fire cider. This is like a bioregional ingredient you could add in, right? Because the pepper at the top, these little seeds are peppery. So you can use those like as a pepper replacement. And then also, I like to use some of the root because it's got that really strong, same peppery taste, like if you're making a fire cider. And it's tiny and small, but usually it grows in like big patches, so you can go and kind of harvest a big clump and then dry it and just shake all the pepper seeds off.
Well, let's go for a hike.
Let's do it.
Let's just go for a walk. I'm going to show you around the property, and if you see something you recognize, we'll stop and talk about it and tell us what it is. Kind of want to go deeper in the wild north.
We can do that. Yeah, so there's multiple varieties of Godu Kola. This is one that seems to grow a lot around cow manure and cow poop. It likes to grow in the cow fields. But Godu Kola is a brain herb, so it's really good for memory, concentration. A lot of people grow it in India, this and Bacopa. Like,
how do you use it?
Eat 3 leaves is kind of what, like in Indian and Ayurvedic cultures.
Like I can eat this.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're cool with what it's growing in. Like if it's on your own property and you know the area, it's totally fine to just eat it raw. But don't do that like out in parks because you don't know what you're eating. It's kind of bitter, huh?
A little bit.
Yeah.
But this makes me healthier. It makes me stronger. How?
Helps your brain.
Helps my brain work.
And what's interesting is if you look at the leaf and you hold it up, it kind of looks like the brain stem, like this bottom area here. It's easier to see with the whole point of the leaf, but...
So you're saying I'm now smarter that I ate this leaf off cow shit?
Yep, totally. Exactly.
I'll take it.
All right. Oh, you know what? Look, it's an oak. It's covered in pollen. These are all its little pollen cones, all its blooms. This is what's been making us sneeze all week.
This is an oak?
Yeah.
It looks like a bush to me.
I can't remember the kind of oak, but basically you can tell by the leaves. I recognize them as an oak. And then these little nubbies. I'm gonna have to take a picture of this one and figure out what species it is specifically. Got a lot of soil building to do, if that's what's underneath.
Do you know what attracts the ants or doesn't attract the ants, or what purpose they're filling?
I mean, it kind of depends, like what the scenario is, right? They love any kind of food, any food source they'll come to. I know they like to bite me when I dig areas up that they're in.
Yeah, me too. That's what I've been wondering.
This one gets mistaken for Godu Kola a lot, but as you guys saw, Godu Kola has like that cut, like that V in it. So it's gonna have a V cut in here. It's not gonna be totally round. This one's edible, but unfortunately a lot of the places it grows are really, really like dirty, nasty places in the water because it grows in, or in the wild, because it grows in like puddles, dirty water, you know, places where water pools and stagnates. So this one is a good one to dig up and then repot at your house if you want to be able to eat it or use it. But it is dollarweed or pennywort and not Godu Kola. Same family, different plant, doesn't have the same medicinal properties.
Do you think it helps like clean the dirty areas or clean the water, or it just
sure
thrives off of it?
So it thrives off of it, but it definitely is a cleaner plant, and that's another reason you don't really want to eat it from like a polluted area, because it's going to be pulling a lot of that stuff out of the ground. So it's one that's good that kind of can take over an area and help clean it and reclaim it over time. And it's really easy to transplant. So, you know, you can dig a little clump up with some roots, bring it home to your own house. And it, like, literally, it loves cow poop. Cows like to eat a lot of it, so you find a lot of it in their poop. But I've taken clumps and, you know, just put it in a pot, keep it a little extra wet, and it's really happy. If you go walk around, like, in a smaller neighborhood, you have little ponds and lakes, you'll find this all around it. This, the Godu Kola, and the Bacopa, they all work around it together, so.
What is that?
Looks like a cow jawbone, huh?
Damn, that is pretty cool.
Whole lower jaw. This is the same cow.
Oh yeah, probably.
Looks like different sides.
Damn, that's actually pretty clean. Like,
yeah.
Those teeth are nice. And
this plant's really cool, but I don't know what it is.
And be careful, because it is on a huge ant pile.
Yeah.
So there's probably ants on it.
So it smells not super sweet. It almost smells a little melony. Reminds me of magnolia a little bit. Look at that flower. Well, we're definitely gonna have to look this up and find out what it is. It's just beautiful. It smells really soft and sweet. Well, stem is really, really sturdy. Really woody. It's pretty. Mushrooms are so cool. I don't know exactly the species, but you can tell just by how it's growing, right? Coming out from the center, the spiky pieces. And then this one, like, it looks spiky as hell, but a lot of them will look soft and they'll look like you want to touch them, and then you touch them and you get stung really, really, really bad. So don't touch them. Thistle. A lot of times the one that grows in the cow field is called bull thistle or sow thistle. But I gotta check. So all of this is smilax. So right now it looks like it got chopped back or frozen back. But you see how these tips are growing?
Do you think the cows ate it maybe?
The cows probably do eat it, actually. That's probably a very good point because it's interesting. It's cooling and it's moistening. So they probably love it, especially when it's like hot out like today. But basically for people, you can dig up the big tuber roots of this. It's really good medicine for like the urinary system. It drains heat and fluids. And then as food, when this gets big, it gets these big chunky tips, like big versions of the current tip. So like this, but thicker and longer. You know, it'll be like a finger, like a thin finger. And when you get those tips, you can go through a plant and break a bunch of those tips off and then saute them up like you would asparagus. And it tastes really similar to asparagus and it is delicious. It's really nice when it's hot out because it's very cooling. And you can eat it raw, but I find sometimes if you eat too much of it raw, since it's so cooling, it'll kind of upset your tummy a little bit, like it'll get a little crampy. So I definitely prefer to cook it, like saute it up with like garlic and onions. So you need to come back out here in a month or two. If the cows don't eat it all. So those look like, I
think that might be monkey ear.
well, so they're definitely a nitrogen fixer. So it's that monkey ear tree or something else in that family, like poinciana, like. They're all nitrogen fixers with that leaf shape. More goticola, monkey ear trees. So this is usnea. It's also called old man's beard. And normally when it's real usnea, when you pull on it, there'll be like a outer sheath and an inner sheath. It's hard to describe with it dry. I gotta find some wet pieces, but definitely go around and harvest this after it rains because it's really good for respiratory health and for fighting infections and stuff like that. Definitely a good one to have around. This one looks like epazote. So epazote they call fireweed because it grows after fire. But it also has to smell like gasoline. And I don't know if it's young enough or if it's a look-alike. So we're not going to count that as positive ID.
The diversity in here is pretty crazy.
Isn't it awesome?
And this is just the field that's right behind the house. The cow pens.
Yeah.
What's this one right here with the flower?
I don't know if I know that one. Let's see. What is she? I'm going to have to take pictures on some of these and come back. But yeah, look, we've got more of the pennywort, dollar weed that we talked about. And then you've got a lot of the dog fennel growing up. That's what this is, right? And then we do have the cudweed all in here. I did check since earlier in the video. We did confirm cudweed is something you can forage and eat from a clean source. And then what's really cool, if you look back here, Will, all of that is pellitory. And pellitory is like super cooling and moistening, and it's one that's good for treatment of like men's prostate issues. So if you have like a hot, angry condition in the prostate, it can kind of cool and release and help things flow. So nice. Really good one for dudes. That one we saw that was lamb's quarter might not be lamb's quarter. It might actually be the 2-leaf nightshade. Look, you see that. You probably have a lot of nightshades growing out here. This is all that nettle. You should probably get out here with a weed whacker sooner rather than later.
Why?
Because this gets really spiky as it gets bigger. It seems kind of benign when it's small, but this will get really spiky, and it's like stinging nettle stingy, where it doesn't just sting when it brushes you, it stings for like hours.
Damn.
So, oh look, we got some Sita. So Sita is another one that's medicinal. It has natural ephedrine in it. So this one's really good for like sinusy, cold, respiratory things. You can use the leaves, the stem, the bark, and the root. This one's really nice. Very drying though, and since it does have like ephedrine in it, it can make your heart race a little. So start small when you use this as an herbal medicine. Elderberry, elderflower farm here growing on. So you see the bigger tree in the middle? And then it spreads through underground roots spreading. So it's thrown roots out. So you'll see all this growth coming up around it. This is all going to be elder. So if you take good care of her, you'll probably be able to get quite a bit of flowers and berries off her later this year.
All right, so we just finished up the hike around the property. We came across a lot of species, but even we were talking about before, this is probably the time of the year that has the least amount of diversity because we just had our freezes and all the new stuff hasn't really sprouted yet, but it was still good to go for a serious hike around the whole property and meet a whole new species of plants that you knew about, and that was really cool. I think it's pretty interesting, you know, with how many plants I do know, there's always so many new ones, right? And there's so many I see that are common, and I know they're around this bioregion
and they're here, but I don't know their names. So even me, what I do, and you saw us a couple times, we took pictures with the camera, got a bunch of different angles, and then that's really where, you know, social media can actually be to your advantage. You can get on those plant groups and post and ask people what they are, you know, or I'll go home and I'll look in all my Florida ID books. So that way when I come back, you know, we can identify more and more and more. So don't get discouraged if you don't know what stuff is. Just try to identify one plant and then get really good at identifying that one plant, and then add another and add another and add another, and before you know it, you'll be able to identify all kinds of stuff. Currently my business name's Edible Eden, and I started out really with all edible plants, and what I found is it's a lot easier to get people into plants if you also have, you know, the tropical plants, the succulents, the more of the house plants, and the kind of you know, just pretty fun plants, right? And once you get people into those, then they really get into herbs and things they can cook and things they can eat once they know they can keep plants alive.
And I'm going to put links to follow her all in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye guys.
Look, check this out. These guys, or these little girls, are trying to get in the video here.
I know, they wanted to be YouTube stars. Hey friends. Did they let you pick them up yet?
Oh yeah, sometimes.
Can I hold you? I got you.